1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't lived the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get pumped, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in they Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the Hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters gon' move, whatever click you choose.
Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to Life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down. Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. Yeah, that's me gassing right there on that intro. And if you want to get that song, it's available only on a 10-song EP that you get directly from me on a digital download. I also have 2 other mixtapes, one with 16 songs, one with 13 songs. They're $20 a piece or $45 for all 3. If you're interested, hit me up on my email, 16tolife@gmail.com. Cashapp, PayPal, or Zelle me the bread, and I'm going to get it to you ASAP. Now let's hop right up into this video, man. So actually, this idea right here for this video was inspired by a dude whose username is Ear to the Street. He admits that he doesn't like my content, and so he likes to come to my page and troll, I guess, or whatever. And so he left a comment saying that, hey, chill, you paroling with 19 points is crazy work, right? Obviously, you wasn't in there making no noise. So shout out to Ear to the Streets for inspiring this video and for helping me add a little more bread to my YouTube check. Then he goes on to say he also paroled from a general population yard, but he didn't, his points wasn't as low as 19 points, right? So obviously, I look at it like just simply by him paroling, he obviously was trying to parole, right? So anytime you're locked up in prison, right, you can go outside of your cell, you can walk left or you can walk right, and you can get all the smoke and all the funk that you want to, right? So if he came home, then obviously he was trying to come home, right? Most individuals who I saw in prison trying to make a name for themselves, they were young. Dudes were, active, they were politic, trying to establish a reputation. And so every time something came up that needed to be handled within their car, they was raising their hand, they was volunteering to do it because they was trying to establish a certain type of reputation, right? And so after you do time, especially, you should really have that reputation, if that's what you're seeking, established after 6-7 years, firmly established, especially after 10 certain years, if that's what you're looking to do, right? If that's a certain type of reputation that you're looking to get, right? Keep in mind now, when I paroled, man, I was 47 years old. I had done 24 years straight in prison, right? So at that point in time, man, anybody still running around at that age, after you doing that amount of time, still catching goofy cases and things in prison, to me, it really makes no sense, right? I seen a dude come in prison, I seen a dude I met in prison, came to the county jail on a ticket. The dude had a ticket, was doing like 2 or 3 weeks in the county jail. He ends up killing somebody in the county jail, gets a life sentence, comes to prison, he kills somebody else. And then at some point in time, this dude paroles, and as a lifer, he goes home, right? And this dude paroled from a level 2 yard, right? After all the things he'd been through, right? He eventually figured out that he needed to stay out of trouble in order to come home, right? When I was locked up in prison, the board, if you was a lifer, the board wanted you to have at least 5 years clean time. The California prison system is based on a point system. However many points that you have, it determines the level of security that you need if you're on a 4-3, so on and so forth, right? So now, as a lifer, right? So if they want 5 years clean time in order to get parole. So when you have a job in prison and you stay out of trouble, they take off 8 points per year. So if you happen to stay free for 5 years, of course that's 40 points. So even if you started at 67 points minus the 40, you are now going to be a level 2, right? So to me, like I say, after doing a long period of time, I didn't see dudes even in their mid 30s to late 40s still in prison at that age, crashing out, doing crazy stuff, right? It reminds me of one time we had a homie hit the yard. So somebody come and say, hey man, we got a homie on the yard, he's over there. He just got out the hole, coming from another prison for handling a situation. He said he had to DP one of the homies and got caught up on the yard or whatever, right? So we all put together a little care package, and soups and stuff, and sent things in there to him that he may need, right? So I'm thinking this dude is supposed to be some young cat, right? So when he comes to the yard, this dude is like in his late 40s, early 50s. So the first thing that goes to my mind, right, is what type of dude is this? If you are in your 50s and you still disciplining one of your homies because something happened on the yard, it has to be either one of two things. One, you have to be a crash out, a JCat dummy type individual, or two, you and your homie were the only individuals from your respective car on that yard, and when your homie did something foul, it fell on you to clean up, because other than that, that type of stuff should be relegated to somebody that's in your car that's much younger. At the age of 50, you should have already solidified your reputation and your status in terms of having to put your hands on some young cat or a cat period who has done some crazy stuff by the age of 50, right? So to me, I don't understand what old boy was talking about, right? I happen to be at this one particular prison, right? And a lot of dudes probably will know who I'm talking about just by saying the small details that I'm going to say. It happened to be a dude who was very, very well known from East Coast. No nonsense, solid reputation, individual that you would often hear his name mentioned in circles when you're talking about, well-known, reputable Crips and Bloods, right? He's free now. And so he happens to pull up to this particular prison that I'm at. I got a homie and some other cats who like to go play poker, right? My homie comes back and tells me it's a dude there on the yard by the name of D, who was from Detroit. They called him D. D liked to be with the slick shenanigan type stuff and, be out there at the poker game doing slick stuff, having mark cards or however he was trying to cheat. I don't play poker, right? So I don't know exactly what he was doing. But somebody hurry up and informed D that, hey, man, such and such is on the yard, man, and he likes to play poker. I guess he had been over there a time or two or whatever. They say, man, if that dude catches you over here trying to do that slick stuff, or even if that dude even thinks you are trying to cheat, man, you out of here. You threw it money. And D immediately put the shenanigans to the side and he left the games alone, right? And this dude, of course, at that point in time, he probably was the dude who wasn't playing, probably was in his late 40s, early 50s, so on and so forth, right? So I'm saying all that to say that after you get to a certain age and you've established a certain type of reputation, you don't really get into a whole lot of problems, right? An individual, after doing a certain amount of time, you know how to conduct yourself. That's why all these different organizations, races, gangs, so on and so forth, they all have a code of conduct amongst their respective collective, because you have a lot of people in prison who are trying to do things to improve their life some type of way, whether it's education. Most individuals are locked up trying to get some bread, trying to make some money. And if you just running around doing crash out and game goofy type stuff, eventually your car is going to discipline you and remove you from the yard. That's why conducting yourself is extremely important. I've said all the time in my YouTube stories that a lot of times if you happen to get caught up on a one-on-one situation, a lot of times it's self-induced. 65 to 70% of that is something that could have been avoided had you programmed differently and you knew how to conduct yourself, right? If the average individual that gets caught up in prison, a lot of times you are coming to the aid of someone else, when you know how to do time. When you know how to do time, you're not going to get into it, a lot, right? Especially if you are one of these killers with an extremely well-known reputation. There's a saying that one killer don't give a fuck about the next. And when you see a killer get into it, he's either going to get into it with another killer, another individual who's willing to go the distance, or a damn fool who just don't know and didn't know any better, right? Didn't know what he was playing with, and he didn't think that, the situation would turn into what it turned into, right? Because once again, when you know how to do time and you conduct yourself like you should, you don't get into a whole lot of trouble. It reminds me also, man, I've mentioned this individual often. I've interviewed him a lot. His name is Chances, a homie of mine. And we happen to be in Ironwood on the 3-yard. Now, around this time, Chances is in his early 40s. And Chances had been pretty much doing time in and out since he was 18. Chances also had a well-known reputation and a propensity for violence. So anyway, somebody happens to hit the yard that Chances had known from his past, right? A Crip. Chances had a good rapport with the dude, but Chances knew the dude to be a no-nonsense, stomp-down killer, or individual who was going to use that knife in a heartbeat. And so Chances let all the homies in our collective know that, hey, man, listen, the dude that just pulled up, he's a good dude, man, but the dude don't play. If you happen to get into it and have words with this dude in a confrontational type way, you better stab him, because he is going to stab you without a doubt. Now, while that dude was on that yard, or at least the entire time I remained on that yard, that dude didn't have any problems. A lot of times when you have a propensity for violence, your name, that reputation gets circulated, right? If you happen to be at a prison in 1999 and you stab somebody, you go to the hole or whatever, you pop up at a prison, in 2006, it's going to be individuals at that new prison that you're at who was on that old prison, and they're definitely going to spread the word with their homies like, hey, man, yeah, I saw that dude over there do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. And, if you get into it with that dude, it's gonna be a serious situation now. Unless that dude is just a weird cat who, continues to get in trouble, he's probably not gonna have any problems, right? Especially the older that you get, the more time you do, you have a tendency to stay out of trouble, man. Not too long ago, I was working with a friend of mine. This dude was a lifer. He had done maybe about 25, 26 years. I think he'd done 16 or 17 of his first initial years at Calipatria. Then he dropped down, his points dropped down to a 3, and then he finally paroled from a 2-yard, right? So once again, after you learn how to do time and you stay out of trouble, you're not I didn't see many individuals, man, getting into it in their late 40s and 50s, making noise. Like old boy said, man, when you know how to do time, you know how to do time, man. And in closing, man, I've been doing YouTube for about 5 years, man. I probably got close to 1,000 stories, if not more, maybe somewhere close to it. Over 15 million combined views. And I say that to say, a lot of time when I do these videos, I'll have individuals from the comments who was actually in these prison stories that I'm talking about. Individuals, man, who watch YouTube, who I was locked up with. You have never seen the individual come on here and say, hey, man, Chill isn't who he said he was. Or more importantly, tell a truthful story or anything that, hey, I was with Chill, man, and he marked out, Chill done this, Chill didn't do that, Chill, you know what I'm saying? Chill has always been on the front line, man. And many times when I was older, I was a voice for my collective due to the fact that I'm diplomatic and I know and understand prison procedures, right? Individuals will tell you, man, that Chill got cracking at the drop of a hat. I never was the tough guy dude, never tried to play the tough guy role, but anytime a situation required for me to get active, I got active without any problems, right? So just putting that out there, man, that, when you go to prison, most individuals, man, I believe at some point in time, if you stay in jail long enough, the objective is to try to come home, man, right? So anyway, man, I'm just throwing that out there. You already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to Life. Resume normal program.